Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Community Partnership Chat. As you all know, I'm Adriana Dawson, and I am part of Verizon State and Government Affairs team. And I have the distinct pleasure of overseeing our community engagement efforts for Rhode Island and Central and Western Mass. And today, everybody, we have an amazing featured guest, Victoria Waterman. Hey, Victoria, welcome.
Hi, it's so nice to see you. And I always thought I had the best job in the world until I heard about your job.
I know. I know. I think I have the best job in the world, but there are enough amazing jobs to go around because there's so much work to be done. But
I'm
you
sure.
know, yeah. So why don't we just get right into it? Because
Okay.
Victoria, you are the CEO of Girls Inc. of Worcester,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that's absolutely amazing. And I had the distinct pleasure of meeting you and your team maybe a little over a year ago. But I know that Verizon has had a long-standing history with you and your organization, and we're going to get into that in a bit. But for those of for those of you out there that don't know Victoria, why don't you go ahead and share a little bit about yourself with our audience today?
Okay. And for those of you who don't know Girls Inc., we are a part of a national organization, one of over 80 affiliates. We are the third oldest. Can you imagine? Over 100 years old.
Oh
We were
wow.
the Girls Club for many years. And ironically, our mission has not changed much. Our mission is still to make females strong. Now, 100 years ago, it may have been as becoming good moms and housewives, where that's not our focus today, but it is giving young women the skills that they need to succeed. We call it strong, smart, and bold. And I'm not sure if this is backwards, but our mission is to inspire all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. What that means is strong is healthy,
Mm,
mentally, physically, smart, academically successful. How do you be the best you can be? And bold can be many things. We look at it as financially independent. How can you take care of yourself? And we do this through the Girls Inc. experience, which combines our people, place, and programs that empower girls to succeed. So we can't do it without the people who are the people listening to this, and like you and Verizon and so many others that help our mission. So I'm very excited about the organization. So, a little bit about myself. If you told me that I would be doing this job, I don't know, 15 years ago, I would have said, you're out of your mind.
really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, you know how careers go. They don't go, do they? I don't know anybody's career who goes that way. Mine certainly was not. I started my career in banking, in business. I worked in the business world for over 20 years.
Mhm.
And I was part of that whole mortgage debacle, and I had to reinvent myself.
Mhm.
I learned that what I really liked was this women helping women thing through financial services. But who cares and who's going to pay me for this?
Right. Right, right.
We all want to do our passion, but who wants to pay us for it? And so through that discovery, I met an organization called Leading Women, which is now a global organization. I hooked up with them and ran the Massachusetts affiliate of Leading Women,
Mhm.
and worked with mid-sized to Fortune 500 companies to train their women to become leaders within the organization. While I did that, I served as the board president for Girls Inc. of Worcester. And there wasn't
Ah.
anybody at Leading Women who didn't know about Girls Inc. And so I did that for a number of years. And then the opportunity came up for this role to be vacant. And and I went for it. But again, that's a whole different story as well. But I still can't believe it. But there's not a day that has gone by that I haven't looked back and said, well, up until recently, this is where I belong. This is
Well,
it.
and I appreciate you sharing that story, especially we're featuring you during Women's History Month, right? And so that, you know, right there in and of itself, we recognize that there are some gender inequities, the pay inequity. There are challenges that we're still attempting to navigate around
Right,
access. And so, again, in sharing your story and just being mindful about not even seeing yourself or having said to you years and years ago that this is what you would be doing and that you would be leading this amazing organization, just the idea that what are you talking about, what do you mean? And so
right,
again,
right, right.
thank you for sharing that story and the ability to marry your purpose and your passion and your vision, and now being in a space to be able to execute all of that. So can you share with us a little bit about sort of the programming and the activity that you're most proud of, or share some success stories of some of the young ladies that have gone through your program? What does that look like over the course of the last couple of years?
Wow. Well, I have to say, I'm most proud of our Girls Inc. Eureka program, which is our
Mhm.
STEM and leadership program, for a number of reasons. One is when I was on the board, I was part of that group that voted and advocated for this to happen for the organization. It's a very expensive program, it's very intensive, and it required the commitment of the board of directors, the staff, and everybody. But I knew this was going to be a game changer for the girls in our
Mhm.
community. So it's a 5 year STEM and leadership program that starts with girls going into eighth grade and follows them through high school graduation. So they stay 5 years. So, Adriana, can you imagine being in eighth grade and making a 5 year commitment to anything?
Not at all.
Not at all, right? But that they do, and most of them stick through it
That's
is
incredible.
amazing. And why is that we have such a fabulous curriculum, but it really is never about that, right? It's not about what they're learning. It's about the relationships.
Absolutely.
It's about their friendships. It's about the trusted advisors with our staff. That's what keeps them going year after year. So the program takes place on college campuses, in the workplaces.
Mhm.
We have day in the life programs where they'll do a field trip. We'll talk about that also, and visit some different sites and and see what it's like to. We've heard so many times, to be it you need to see it, and
Absolutely.
that is what this does. So the program is expensive. It's $2,000 per girl per year. So if a girl finishes the 5 years, that's $10,000, of
Mhm.
which the family pays zero. Absolutely zero.
Amazing.
And the ROI on it is amazing. And so we have had several cohorts graduate, over 100 girls. I'll just give you some rough numbers. Almost 50% are first generation to go to college. They've received over $400 college acceptances as a group. They have had 5 Ivy League acceptances.
Wow.
2 were full paid. We've had 24 fully paid scholarships. As a cohort, they've received over $5 million in financial aid. Unreal. But here's the cherry on top.
Uh-oh.
66%
Hmm.
plan to major in STEM
That's
related
amazing.
studies. More than double the national average. And that is because they've been exposed to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise, who would go into majors they never knew anything about? And so
Absolutely.
that is something I am very, very proud of. And this falls into the bold category. All of it, of course. But I'll tell you why. And if you watch my TED Talk, you'll learn more. So I got to give a little plug. Today,
Everybody watch your TED Talk.
yes, Victoria Waterman, today's girls, tomorrow's leaders. Okay, and I'm going to give you the secret, some of the secret of it. So, why STEM matters? It's a buzzword. You hear it all the time, blah, blah, blah. But in STEM related jobs, for the most part, the wage gap is not as wide.
Right.
And women and men have opportunities to make a very good wage and be able to live independently. And we know there's a direct correlation between women who stay in unhealthy relationships
Right.
and their financial independence. So, why does it matter? Because we want our women to not stay, our girls, our women, to stay in unhealthy relationships because they cannot afford to leave. We are giving them every tool so that they can afford to say, I deserve better.
No,
Bye bye.
absolutely. And thank you. Number one, congratulations. Those are amazing statistics. And when um, kind of when we dig more deeply, we reckon those aren't just numbers. These are young ladies. These are human beings. These are people. You're transforming lives, right? You're
Right.
giving us numbers, but these numbers represent lives. So thank you for the work that you and the team continues to do. And I also recognize that a good majority of the young women or girls in your program are also coming from systemically overlooked communities and
Mm-hmm.
underestimated communities. And
Mm-hmm.
as you mentioned, the program is expensive. So to have access to opportunity, programming, professionals that look like them, conversations within this sector that are starting to be normalized because perhaps
Right.
they're coming from households where they're unable to glean on conversations, that allow them to kind of imagine themselves in those spaces because maybe
Right.
the members of their households just don't hold professional or STEM or STEM
Right.
related
Right.
jobs.
Right.
Right. So again, thank you for all that you do. And I wonder for the young women that have since gone on and either stepped into careers, have you heard back from them? Like, are you able to share any of the success stories? Where are they now? Is
Right, right. Well, I will. And I'll share about a young woman who I did feature in my TED Talk. And this was in 2019. So it's been a few years since then. She was our Eureka graduate who, at that time, was really our headliner who was accepted into Dartmouth for a
Mm,
full scholarship. Well, she has since graduated. And while she was with us in her internship opportunity, she worked at UMass Medical, the region's largest employer, in their research department and helped them on doing a health research project in her neighborhood in Worcester, which is our
mhm,
neighborhood as well. She did that for a couple of summers. Then, when she came back in the summers from college, she interned there in the summer. During COVID, they had a social norms campaign called hashtag post vax life, where they had young people create this social media explosion about get the vaccine so we can go back to our life and go to nightclubs and do all of that. Well, she was in charge. And where did she go? She came to Girls Inc., worked with our Eureka girls
mm.
on the campaign. Now she works for them full time and
Look at
is
that.
really doing amazing. So she's full circle,
I was just going to say that.
full circle, and is a great success story.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing that. Oh, see, look, you taught, no, listen, the paparazzi people are calling, I mean, it is what it is, a day in the
Right.
life of Victoria. So, can you share with us what's next? I mean, What's Girls Inc. of Worcester up to next? What's on the
Okay.
horizon for 2023? Any news to share?
Yeah, I got some exciting things. So first of all, we have our career in college success story. I mean, career in college shower, which is an amazing success story. So you might be saying, "What? What is a college shower?" Well, we know at Girls Inc. that graduating high school and going on to education or work can rival the cost of getting married or having a baby, which is
Mm,
typically when women get showered. So we throw them a shower, literally. We
I
have a
love
wish,
that.
we have a registry, we have a party. They get all kinds of cool stuff. The last couple of years, we've given each girl a laptop to bring to
Mm,
college with them, which is amazing. So let's put all of this in perspective. This is what matters for girls,
right.
celebrating these successes. So that's coming up in May. More information on that, but we're always looking for volunteers and opportunities
Sure.
for that. And then long term, we're looking to follow our girls post college. So some of them, like the one I mentioned, does keep in touch with us, but we'd like a formal mechanism to follow these girls until they're 24, because
Mm,
we know that life is challenging and we can't teach them everything they need to know by the end of high school. What about getting through college?
right.
How do you get through that first year? How do you go back for the second? And then once you're out, going into the workplace in this very foreign experience. And so that's our long-term goal, is to increase the ages of girls that we're supporting.
I love that. And I if I could sort of affirm and underscore the importance of that sort of longitudinal,
Mm,
connection and that longitudinal study to be able to point to major accomplishments, wins,
mm,
metrics, and really the long term impact
right.
of what their participation in the program, how it ended up contributing to their long term sort of economic self sufficiency,
Right.
their wealth acquisition. These
Mm,
are all things that I love that. I think that that's absolutely phenomenal. So, with all of that said and all of the amazing things that the organization has done and continues to do to help, young women, what can Verizon and your other network partners continue to do to support these amazing efforts?
well, Verizon and other partners have something unique that we don't have. We are very textbookish, if you will. Uh, the real world is waiting out there. The real
Mm,
role models are out there. Our level of exposure only goes so far. So, for example, our girls were able to visit the hub in Boston, and it was an amazing, experience. And so they get to see real world, what this could look like for them. They physically can see themselves there, standing there when they graduate.
mhm.
Um, and that is invaluable. That is something we cannot give our girls. We can't give those real world experiences and volunteers, just a role model. Just all you have to do, Adriana, is tell them, just have a conversation and say, here's what I do in my job. And I will guarantee you, every one of them would say, oh, I never knew that was a
Oh,
job.
absolutely.
And how do I do that? And now they have someone that they can connect with and say, I'm serious. I'd really like to know. And I'd like to learn how I can do that.
I know. And I so appreciate you sharing that because you're right. That's where a lot of the magic happens. When
Right.
you contextualize the learning, when you make it come alive for them, when you engage them in the storytelling, and as you've noted, and representation matters. It really does. So when we're engaging in these inclusive approaches, and we're identifying talent assets who share lived experience with these
Mm.
young ladies and students, and have experienced similar hiccups or roadblocks in life,
Oh,
and they're able to connect with some of our stories. Like, it wasn't a linear path, and I had no idea
right,
I would end up here, or like, these are the credentials I ended up getting, and this is the sort of
right.
professional development or the mentorship. So thank you for that, because I do believe very strongly that the human capital is just as
Mm,
access to the human capital is just
mm.
as important as the strategic investments and the financial contributions. So,
Right, right.
for all of our network partners out there, Victoria and Girls Inc. of Worcester is ready for all of the goodness and the talent assets.
Strong, smart, and bold.
I know. They are ready for you, because, it's time to continue to move forward with 2023 and all the amazing stuff going on. But unfortunately, our time today is coming to a close. But thank you for being so generous with your time and sharing in conversation with us, not only sharing your personal leadership journey, but being a real example and a gem of what you've done for the organization, your leadership, and for the community of girls and young women that you've helped lift.
Yes,
So thank you to you, your staff, and the board for all of
thank
that
you.
work
Thank
and your
you. I want
efforts.
to give a shout out to Ellen Cummings. Who,
Absolute Ellen Cummings.
yep,
And I was going to say that, and thank you for bringing that up. I started by saying Verizon has had a long-standing history with
yes,
Girls Inc. of Worcester prior to my joining, the
yes.
company, and that's all because of Ellen Cummings. So, Ellen Cummings, shout out to you, and thank
Yay!
you for that call out, Victoria. I appreciate you. So, thank you again for joining us, and everyone, thanks for tuning in to another edition of Community Partnership Chat.